Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch, and that's the fact that a brand new patch just went ahead and dropped for the game that's readily available for everyone to go ahead and download, and I highly suggest that you guys do so. This is patch version 3.3.1, bringing with it a host of bug fixes and a couple of changes to the game entirely that we're going to be able to go over in a little bit, but also of course adding over the brand new DLC event quest that we're going to be getting on Friday, featuring Akuma from Street Fighter. Essentially, you're going to be getting a brand new layered skin as a playable character, and it's going to be one of the most famous and most popular characters in Street Fighter lore. But when it comes specifically to the patch notes that Capcom has provided us, we're looking at essentially just a couple of different things, starting with obviously if you want to keep playing online, you're going to have to be able to patch the game directly, so make sure you go ahead and download the patch and make sure you update it in order to be able to keep playing with others online. One of the main additions that they go over, and one of the ones that they tout, is that there's new DLC purchasable directly from the Nintendo Switch eShop. Then there's also, of course, the brand new event quest that's available pretty much every single week, but starting on Friday, we're going to be able to that Akuma one that I mentioned just earlier. When it comes to bug fixes, there's three separate types: base facility, monsters, and player bug fixes. So when it comes to facility, essentially area type bug fixes, what we're looking at here is a fixed bug that occasionally causes the vents that can be activated during Area 06 in the quest to appear in random places rather than fixed locations. Then moving over to bug fixes when it comes specifically to monsters, we're looking at bug fixes when it comes to Almudron's mud being displayed in different shaders and different areas around the ground. Bug fixes that have to do with Somnicanth and Bishaten not being able to be pushed into a wall after Wyvern riding for very specific situations. Also bug fixes when it comes to being poisoned by Bishaten's wings once he actually pounces you with a paraflute in his tail. And obviously the last one, which I do think is a more interesting one, changes to monster sizes in certain quests, affecting monsters like Agnesam, Bishaten, Rajang, Teostra, Apex Mitsutsune, Apex Rathalos, Apex Sinogar, and Crimson Grove Valstrax. So this is most likely has to do with crowns and stuff like that. I know a lot of people have basically gotten to the point that they're crown chasing, so this pretty much has a lot to do with just crown chasing people who are going to be going after specific crown sizes, whether it is big or small. Certain quests are seeing some of the changes. They don't necessarily tell us what changes are, so it's one of those things that if we just had a little bit more information, that would be helpful indeed. Then when it comes to actual player bug fixes, we're looking at a whole heck of a lot of holes. That's actually a lot of the things they're actually seeing in this patch. It's just mostly player fixes, essentially things that have to do with your character itself. We're seeing things like connection being lost in certain buddy situations being sorted out, bug cursors essentially speeding up or slowing down depending on certain situations after like advanced settings not being properly tailored, twin ponytails hairstyle clipping through Lagambi helms and Rathalos helmets, bug fixes that essentially have to do with like unnatural looking floral like sets and stuff like that. An interesting one is a bug whenever you lay down a big barrel bomb in a specific situation, it just kind of goes off automatically. Basically, it's a terrain issue. Another issue where like a Palamute would freeze temporarily while performing a combo in a very specific like large shuriken type of attack. Then another one, there's like bug fixes to like longsword where like spirit step slash and spirit blade attack are also like taking too much spirit blade, so essentially like it's just a bug in that specific combat situation. Longsword is also seeing spirit slash follow-up attacks hitting Magnamalo's torso, basically not connecting properly, so they're gonna make sure that they correct that as well. Dual blades are also seeing a cost damage effect where essentially just landing a couple of consecutive hits makes it so like it just kind of like stops registering, so they're gonna work on that as well. Hunting Horn's fifth melody is also not displaying right in certain occasions, so this is also another thing they're gonna be addressing. Gunlance is also seeing a lot of changes to his shelling where it's hitting areas outside of the direction of the player is actually facing, so they're going to make sure and address that as well. Another bug preventing directional input whenever you register a ground splitter after a certain set of actions. So again, Gunlance has been one of those weapons that needs some tweaking, so they're addressing that as well. Also another one when it comes to auto shoutouts, when it comes to like bows for demon ammo, armor ammo, and recover ammo as well. And the last one that they go over is that Bubbly Dance level 3 is basically inflicting bubble blights whenever a player performs a specifically attack after dodging it with the bow. So that's going to be addressed. Interestingly enough, they talk about the bow, but they don't actually talk about the cancel framing situation, which still has not been addressed, interestingly enough. And the last thing that they go over when it comes to bug fixes is something that they are titling miscellaneous, and they're talking about fixing a bug causing the collected Sun Goddess pictures to remain on screen after another player collects the item during the same loading screen as basically the writing event quest. So it's one of those, like, it was introduced in the last patch that they provided when they introduced the Amaterasu armor, and it's one of those that seems to have been a little bit bugged in that regard. The last thing that they mentioned is various bug fixes, but they don't even actually go into detail as to what that could actually be. And other miscellaneous bug fixes have been made, so even in that regard, they mention various bug fixes twice, and they don't actually give us any sort of information as to what that could possibly be. So yeah, this is another one of those, if I'm counting correctly, this is now the third patch in a row that's been just pretty much nothing but bug fixes. 3.0 brought with it a whole heck of a lot of them. 3.1, 3.2, and now 3.3 has been pretty much nothing but bug fixes, and the game is pretty much like completely as playable as it could possibly be. It's one of those situations that basically we're still expecting a whole heck of a lot more content, or at least people are very optimistic for a whole heck of a lot of content, but Capcom themselves are not actually saying like, what are we actually going to get? Just this morning when I was going over the Akuma information that we got just last night, I was talking about how essentially the new roadmap looks a little bit different, but they're just saying like we have 2 more Capcom collaborations within this fall. That essentially falls into from like September all the way down to like November. I want to say December is actually the beginning of winter, interestingly enough, in the way that we see it here in the West. And they aren't actually telling us what those collaborations are going to be. So we're seeing most likely 2 more collaborations within the next 2 to 3 months. And after that is very much a question mark. We don't necessarily know what's going to be coming after that. We're all hoping for new monsters. We're all hoping for new areas. We're all hoping for that alleged G-Rank update that we should be getting. This is something that I want to make a separate video about and talk about, because I think we're very, very antsy to that. We're very excited, hoping that that's actually what's going to round out the game, but we don't necessarily have all the details as to what that could possibly be. It's just a lot of expectations, a lot of hope, but not necessarily anything sound or logical in that regard. We just don't necessarily know what Capcom's actual idea for the roadmap of the game looks like after these Capcom collaborations. I did also allude to in one of my videos a couple of days ago that Capcom's roadmap for Monster Hunter Stories 2 is winding down. There are a couple of things that are left for that game, but other than that, they're not necessarily talking about like more things being added there as well. So as that game's DLC winds down, we should expect Monster Hunter Rise to pick up in certain regard for sure. But hopefully that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully you guys found it informative, and that's pretty much all the patch notes that we have for now. If there's all new information when it comes to new patches, I will certainly be sure to go over them as well. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.